August 1946, the world is recovering from war, but beneath the ice of Antarctica, a new mystery is about to unfold. In an era defined by the settling dust of global conflict, humanity looked towards rebuilding in peace. Yet, one of the United States' most decorated heroes was tasked with leading an unprecedented armada not to a known battlefield, but to the desolate, frozen wasteland of the South Pole. This was Operation High Jump, the largest Antarctic expedition in history, and at its helm was a man synonymous with courage and exploration, Admiral Richard E. Byrd. A celebrated naval officer and a pioneering aviator, Admiral Byrd was no stranger to the perils of the polar extremes. He had flown over the North Pole, charted vast, unknown territories, and was hailed as a national hero for his daring exploits. But this mission was different. Cloaked in official objectives of scientific research and training, Operation High Jump was an immense military undertaking, involving thousands of men, an aircraft carrier, and a fleet of ships. The official story spoke of testing men and materials in extreme cold. The unofficial story, however, whispers of something far more extraordinary. Imagine, for a moment, what he claimed to have found, far beyond the endless plains of ice and snow. Rumors end. Diary entries speak of a hidden world, a secret oasis of green, lush lands warmed by an unknown source, concealed beneath the polar cap. They tell of encounters with advanced, disc-shaped aircraft, flying saucers that could move with incredible speed and agility, far surpassing any technology known in 1946. More than that, they hint at contact with mysterious beings who delivered a stark, prophetic warning for all of humanity, a message of peace and caution against our own destructive nature. This was the secret Byrd allegedly carried back with him, a discovery so profound, so reality-shattering, that it was destined to be buried under layers of classified documents and official denials. What did Admiral Byrd really see in that hidden land beyond the pole, and why was it covered up for decades? In late 1946, as the world celebrated a fragile peace, the United States Navy quietly assembled a colossal naval armada. This was Task Force 68, better known to the world as Operation High Jump. On paper, it was the most ambitious scientific expedition to Antarctica ever conceived. The sheer scale of it was staggering, a fleet of 13 ships, including an aircraft carrier, submarines, and icebreakers, along with over 4,700 men. And a vast contingent of aircraft. It was a force larger than many battles of the war that had just concluded. The man chosen to lead this monumental undertaking was, of course, Admiral Richard E. Byrd, whose name was synonymous with polar exploration. The official purpose, as stated by the government, was multifaceted and logical enough for the post-war era. This was a chance to test military equipment and train personnel in the most unforgiving environment on Earth. The Antarctic, a continent of ice and mystery, was the perfect laboratory for understanding the challenges of extreme cold weather operations, a crucial strategic consideration in the burgeoning Cold War. They were to map coastlines, scout for potential naval base locations, and conduct scientific research. But from the very beginning, there were whispers among the sailors and in the shadowed corners of Washington, D.C. that the official story was just a cover. A mission of this size, mobilized with such urgency, felt like more than just a scientific field trip. As the ships sailed, the expedition was planned to last for a full 4 months, a timeline designed to take advantage of the brief Antarctic summer. The men were prepared for a long, grueling deployment in the planet's most hostile territory. Yet, perplexingly, the mission was abruptly and inexplicably cut short. After only 8 weeks on the ice, the entire fleet was ordered to withdraw and return home immediately. Why? What could possibly have happened to cause such a powerful and well-supplied force to beat a hasty retreat? The official reports were vague, citing worsening weather conditions and the early onset of winter. But for an expedition specifically designed to handle such extremes, this explanation seemed flimsy at best. The rumors that trickled back with the returning sailors painted a far more disturbing picture. They spoke of strange and unexplained injuries, of equipment that was not just broken but seemingly destroyed by an unknown force. The most persistent and terrifying whispers were of aerial combat. Seasoned pilots, veterans of the Pacific Theater, allegedly encountered hostile, unidentified aircraft that emerged from the ice and engaged them with devastating effect. These were not conventional planes, they were circular, impossibly fast, and maneuvered in ways that defied the laws of physics as understood in 1947. Then came the return of Admiral Byrd himself. Instead of a triumphant hero's welcome, Byrd was quickly debriefed behind closed doors. He did, however, grant a brief but startling interview to a Chilean newspaper. In it, he issued a chilling warning, speaking of the necessity for the United States to defend against a new kind of enemy. He described flying craft that possessed the incredible ability to travel from pole to pole in a matter of moments, a technological leap so profound it was almost unimaginable. And then, after that shocking public statement, he was silenced. The full report from Operation High Jump was classified, and the true events of that Antarctic summer were buried, leaving behind a legacy of suspicion and a question that has haunted researchers for over 70 years: what truly happened during Operation High Jump? Narrator: Admiral Byrd upheld his duty and his silence until his death in 1957. While his official logs and public statements offered a sanitized version of his polar expeditions, a far more incredible story was allegedly waiting to be found. Years after his passing, reports emerged that his son, Richard E. Byrd Jr., discovered a hidden document among his father's personal effects, a secret diary. This was not the meticulous, scientific log of a naval officer, it was the personal, awestruck account of a man who had witnessed the impossible. It is within these contested pages that the true, forbidden narrative of Operation High Jump is said to be recorded. According to this secret diary, on February 19, 1947, during a reconnaissance flight over the North Pole, Byrd experienced something that shattered his understanding of the world. After flying for hours over the endless, monotonous expanse of ice and snow, he and his radio operator noticed something strange. The landscape below began to change. The ice gave way to rocky terrain, then forested mountains and flowing rivers. He reported flying over vast, green valleys where he saw strange animals moving below, creatures that looked remarkably like woolly mammoths, long thought to be extinct. The air temperature rose, and the sky seemed different. Ahead, nestled in a valley, was a breathtaking sight, a city bathed in a rainbow of hues, constructed from what looked like giant crystals, gleaming with a light that seemed to emanate from within. As he circled this impossible metropolis, his wonder turned to alarm. Two futuristic, disc-shaped flying machines, sleek and silent, appeared on either side of his aircraft. A voice crackled through his radio in English, but with a strange, melodic accent, informing him that he was in good hands and would be landed shortly. Byrd found that the controls of his own plane were completely unresponsive, taken over by an unseen force. He was now a passenger, escorted by these flying saucers, which gently guided his plane down to a landing strip. He was met by several tall, blonde-haired beings who led him from his aircraft. He was told not to be afraid, he was to be taken to meet the master. He was guided into a subterranean world, a sprawling, luminous complex beneath the surface. There, in a grand chamber, he was brought before a being of great age and apparent wisdom, whom his guides referred to as the Master. The being's voice was filled with a solemn gravity as he expressed deep disappointment in humanity. He explained that they had watched the surface world for centuries but had not interfered until now. The turning point, he said, was the detonation of the atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This act of self-destruction had alerted them to a new and terrible danger, that humanity had acquired a weapon it was not mature enough to control. The Master delivered a stark warning: humanity was on a path to its own annihilation, driven by greed and war. He explained that their own civilization had once faced a similar crisis and had chosen a path of peace and technological harmony. Byrd was chosen as a witness, a credible and respected figure from the surface world, to carry this message back. He was to warn the leaders of humanity to abandon their nuclear ambitions and turn towards a peaceful future. After the encounter, Byrd was guided back to his plane, which was lifted back into the sky. He flew back over the ice, the impossible green land vanishing behind him. He had been given a message for the world, a revelation that could change the course of history. But upon his return, when he relayed his fantastic account to his superiors, he was met with suspicion and hostility. Admiral Byrd was sworn to absolute secrecy by the highest authorities of the United States government. The hero was ordered to become a keeper of secrets, his world-changing message locked away, leaving only the legend of a forbidden diary. Narrator: Admiral Byrd's alleged encounter did not exist in a vacuum. Instead, it poured fuel on the fire of one of the most enduring and fascinating esoteric ideas in human history, the theory of a hollow Earth. The concept that our planet is not a solid sphere but a hollow shell with a habitable interior surface has captivated mystics, writers, and fringe theorists for centuries. This wasn't a new idea born in the 20th century, its roots run deep into the soil of ancient mythology. Cultures across the globe have legends of underworlds and subterranean realms, from the Greek Hades to the Norse Svartalfheim. In the East, these myths crystallized into the powerful legends of Shambhala and Agartha, hidden kingdoms of immense wisdom and spiritual power, said to reside deep within the earth, accessible only to the worthy through secret tunnels and gateways, often located at the planet's poles. For centuries, these were considered mere myths. But Byrd's supposed secret diary provided a startlingly modern and tangible account that seemed to validate these ancient beliefs. His story wasn't just about discovering a temperate zone in Antarctica, it was about the mechanics of that discovery. The diary describes not just flying over a green land, but experiencing a moment of transition, a passage into an opening near the pole. This one detail electrified proponents of the hollow Earth theory. Byrd, a respected military man and scientist, was seemingly describing the very entrance to the inner world that legends had spoken of for millennia. He had, according to this narrative, breached the outer crust and flown into the subterranean realm of Agartha, witnessing its advanced inhabitants and technology firsthand. His account transformed the hollow Earth from a philosophical concept into a physical place, a destination that had now, allegedly, been visited. As technology advanced, believers in the theory began searching for scientific proof to bolster Byrd's claims. Their attention quickly focused on the poles, the supposed locations of the great openings. They pointed to strange phenomena reported by satellites and geological surveys. One of the most frequently cited pieces of evidence is the existence of significant magnetic anomalies at both the North and South poles. While mainstream science explains these as complex interactions within the Earth's molten core, hollow Earth theorists propose a different interpretation. They argue these anomalies are exactly what one would expect to find at the edge of a massive polar Opening, where the planet's magnetic field interacts with the void leading to the interior. Satellite images showing strange, circular depressions or auroras that seem to emanate from a single point on the ice are presented as further proof, often dismissed by scientists as imaging artifacts or misinterpretations. Beyond the magnetic fields, the geology of Antarctica itself presents intriguing puzzles that are co-opted by the theory. Scientists have confirmed the existence of vast subglacial lakes of liquid water, most famously Lake Vostok, buried under more than 2 miles of solid ice. The question is, what keeps them from freezing? The conventional explanation involves geothermal heat from the Earth's crust and the immense pressure of the ice sheet above, lowering the freezing point. However, to a believer in Byrd's story, the answer is far more extraordinary. These unexplained heat signatures and liquid lakes are not just geological oddities, they are the direct result of the gentle warmth radiating from the interior sun of the hollow Earth, the very source that would have sustained the lush green world and the crystal city that the Admiral so vividly described. In this light, every anomaly, every unexplained heat source, becomes another piece of the puzzle, suggesting that the temperate zone mystery of Antarctica is not just a mystery of the ice, but a mystery of the world that may lie just beneath it. The events of Operation High Jump and the shocking contents of Admiral Byrd's secret diary did not happen in isolation. To truly understand their significance, we must view them within the context of the seismic shift in public consciousness that was occurring worldwide. The post-World War II era, particularly the year 1947, triggered an unprecedented explosion of unidentified flying object sightings. The war had accelerated aviation technology at a breathtaking rate, but the objects people now began to report were something else entirely. They were silent, disc-shaped, and capable of speeds and maneuvers that dwarfed even the most advanced experimental jets. This wave of sightings famously culminated in July 1947 with the Roswell incident in New Mexico, where the alleged crash and recovery of a flying disc seared the image of the flying saucer into the global psyche. Within this climate of sudden, widespread sightings, Admiral Byrd's account takes on an eerie prescience. Remember, his encounter and his warning to the press about craft that could fly pole to pole in moments happened before the Roswell incident became a global phenomenon. His detailed description of the disc-shaped machines that escorted his plane, silent, incredibly swift, and technologically superior, was a perfect match for the thousands of flying saucer reports that would soon follow. He wasn't just another witness among many, he was one of the first, and arguably the most credible, individuals to describe this specific type of craft. It was as if his classified mission to the South Pole had stumbled upon the very source of a mystery that was about to captivate and terrify the rest of the world. Was it a coincidence, or had Byrd and his men witnessed the home base of these enigmatic objects? Byrd was not the only one to speak out, though others lacked his public stature. Over the decades, whispers and testimonies have emerged from other military personnel and contractors who served in Antarctica. These whistleblower accounts, often shared late in life or anonymously for fear of reprisal, tell a similar story. They speak of strange lights in the sky, of radar contacts performing impossible right-angle turns and accelerating from a dead hover to thousands of miles per hour in an instant. They describe missions being shadowed by silent, metallic orbs and disks that seem to appear from nowhere and vanish just as quickly. These stories paint a consistent picture of a sky, and perhaps a sea, patrolled by technology that is generations beyond our own. This persistent stream of sightings has led researchers to a stunning and audacious theory, that the UFOs are not just visiting Antarctica, but that they are based there. The continent's immense, unexplored landmass, buried under miles of ice, makes it the perfect sanctuary for a secret base, hidden from prying eyes and satellite surveillance. The Extreme cold and desolate conditions that make it hostile to us would be irrelevant to a sufficiently advanced intelligence. The question then becomes, who is operating these craft? Is it the advanced, subterranean civilization that, the master, claimed to lead, an ancient society that considers the interior of the planet their home and the poles their gateways? Or is the truth even more profound? Could Antarctica be a foothold on Earth for an extraterrestrial civilization, a remote and secluded outpost on a primitive planet where they can observe, refuel, and operate without interference? The warnings Byrd received, the advanced technology he witnessed, it all points to an intelligence that is not our own, using the frozen continent as its private domain. Narrator, while Admiral Byrd's story points towards a mysterious, perhaps ancient, power in Antarctica, another, more sinister theory finds its roots in the ashes of the Second World War. This theory suggests that the hostiles encountered during Operation High Jump were not benevolent inner-Earth beings or extraterrestrials, but human. Specifically, they were the remnants of the most terrifying regime in modern history, the Third Reich. The Nazi obsession with Antarctica is not a matter of pure speculation, it is a documented historical fact. In 1938, just before the world plunged into war, the Nazi Party launched its own highly organized expedition to the frozen continent. On a ship named the 𝐒𝐻𝐚𝐢𝐿𝐵𝐿and, they charted and claimed a vast, temperate, ice-free region, planting swastika flags and naming it New Swabia or 𝐻𝐻𝐚𝐢𝐿𝐵𝐿and. Officially, the expedition's purpose was to establish a whaling station and secure German territory. However, given the Nazis' well-documented fascination with ancient relics, occult power, and lost lands like Atlantis and Thule, researchers believe their true motives ran much deeper. The core of the theory is that during this expedition, the Nazis discovered something of immense power in the ice-free oases of New Swabia. Some versions of the story claim they found the entrance to the hollow earth themselves, making contact with the very same civilization Byrd would encounter years later. A more prevalent theory suggests they unearthed evidence of a lost, ancient civilization. Or, perhaps more frighteningly, advanced alien technology left behind from a prehistoric crash. This discovery, the theory goes, became the Reich's most guarded secret. As the tide of war turned against Germany, and Allied forces closed in on Berlin, a desperate escape plan was allegedly put into motion. According to persistent rumors and supposed declassified documents, a fleet of advanced U-boats, far superior to anything the Allies possessed, began a secret exodus. Their cargo was not just high-ranking Nazi officials and SS officers, but also the Reich's most brilliant scientists and the crown jewels of their technological research. Their destination, a pre-prepared, heavily fortified, and completely secret base hidden in the mountains and caves of New Swabia, a fortress known in conspiracy circles as Base 211. This was to be the heart of a new, resurgent Reich, a breakaway civilization that would survive the fall of Germany and continue its work in the frozen isolation of the South Pole. This theory gains terrifying credibility when connected to the Nazis' infamous pursuit of Wunderwaffen, or wonder weapons. While the V-2 rocket is a known example, whispered legends speak of far more esoteric projects. The most famous of these is Die Glock, the Nazi bell, a bizarre, bell-shaped device said to manipulate time and gravity, powered by a mysterious radioactive substance. Proponents of the Nazi base theory argue that this and other anti-gravity projects were successfully developed and moved to the Antarctic base. The flying saucers that Byrd and his men reportedly encountered were not alien, they were the next generation of Nazi aerospace technology, perfected in secrecy. The impossible speeds, the silent flight, the disc shape, all were the products of a scientific path humanity was never meant to follow. This brings us back to Operation High Jump. Suddenly, the mission's massive military scale and urgent deployment make perfect, chilling sense. Was its true purpose really just to test equipment in the cold? Or was it a full-scale invasion, a final, secret chapter of World War II intended to find and destroy this Nazi breakaway civilization before it could rise to threaten the world again? Seen through this lens, the expedition's abrupt and premature end is no longer a mystery. It's a defeat. Admiral Byrd's fleet did not retreat from bad weather, it retreated from a technologically superior enemy. His frantic warnings to the press about craft that could fly pole to pole were not a vague caution about a distant threat, they were a first-hand account of being outmatched by a surviving, and now thriving, Nazi force armed with technology beyond his comprehension. The cover-up that followed was not to hide the existence of aliens, but to hide the humiliating truth that the most destructive enemy the world had ever known had not been fully vanquished, but had simply relocated. Narrator, after the sensational events of Operation High Jump, the alleged discovery of a secret diary, and persistent rumors of Nazi holdouts and UFO activity, the official world fell silent on the mysteries of Antarctica. But then, in 1959, something remarkable happened. At the height of the Cold War, a period defined by suspicion, espionage, and the threat of nuclear annihilation, the world's superpowers did something completely out of character, they agreed. The United States, the Soviet Union, and 10 other nations came together to sign the Antarctic Treaty, a document that effectively neutralized the entire continent. It banned all military activity, prohibiting weapons testing, military maneuvers, and the establishment of bases. It froze all territorial claims and, crucially, dedicated the continent solely to peaceful scientific investigation, with all findings to be shared freely among the signatories. On the surface, this treaty appears to be a triumph of diplomacy, a rare moment of sanity in a world teetering on the brink. But to those who had followed the whispers coming from the South Pole, it looked like something else entirely. It looked like a cover-up on a global scale. Why would more than 50 nations, many of them bitter rivals, so readily agree to lock down the world's 5th largest continent? This level of unanimous agreement and cooperation is virtually unprecedented in human history. Nations that couldn't agree on trade policies or borders suddenly found common ground on quarantining a landmass rich in untapped mineral resources and strategic potential. This universal secrecy begs the question, what did they all agree to hide? The restrictions are not merely on paper. Antarctica today is one of the most heavily controlled and inaccessible places on Earth. While not official, no-fly zones, in a military sense, navigating the continent's airspace is a logistical nightmare, tightly controlled by a handful of national operators. Independent travel is actively discouraged and prohibitively expensive. Any scientific mission requires immense international oversight. This ironclad control stands in stark contrast to the rest of the planet, where competition and conflict are the norm. It's an anomaly that demands explanation. Why is this frozen wasteland guarded more rigorously than any other place on Earth? Proponents of the Great Antarctic Mystery believe the treaty is the final, crucial piece of evidence. It is the global pact of silence. They argue that the world's governments, having become aware of the truth, whether through the debriefing of Admiral Byrd, their own intelligence operations, or a direct, secret contact, collectively decided that the secret of Antarctica was too powerful, too reality-shattering for the general public to handle. The treaty was the mechanism to enforce this silence. It wasn't designed to protect penguins and ice sheets, but to protect us from a truth we are not ready for. Whether it's to hide the entrance to a subterranean world, to avoid provoking an ancient non-human intelligence, or to keep the lid on an active alien presence, the goal is the same: control the narrative by controlling access. The Antarctic Treaty, in this light, is not a symbol of peace. It is the lock on the door to the world's biggest secret. Narrator: while grand theories about inner-Earth civilizations and secret Nazi bases dominate the lore of Antarctica, some of the most compelling evidence for a profound mystery comes not from esoteric diaries, but from hard scientific data that continues to baffle researchers. At the heart of this modern enigma lies a feature known as Lake Vostok. Discovered by Russian scientists, this is one of the largest lakes on Earth, yet it is buried nearly 2.5 miles beneath the solid East Antarctic ice sheet. It is a world sealed off from our own, a pristine environment that has not been exposed to the surface atmosphere for an estimated 15 to 25 million years. Its existence alone is a source of immense scientific fascination, as it represents a potential time capsule, holding microbial life that has evolved in complete isolation for eons. For decades, a Russian team at Vostok Station has been engaged in one of the most ambitious drilling projects ever undertaken, slowly and carefully boring through the miles of ancient ice to reach the liquid water below. As they neared their goal, the world's scientific community watched with bated breath. But as the drill approached the lake's surface, strange stories began to emerge from the isolated research station. Unofficial reports and rumors leaked out, suggesting the team had encountered something truly unexpected. Some whispers claimed the drill had been abruptly stopped not by bedrock, but by what their sonar and sensors indicated was a smooth, artificial dome or structure. Other rumors spoke of the first water samples containing not just simple microbes, but the DNA of complex, multicellular organisms, a finding that would rewrite evolutionary biology. These tantalizing claims were followed by official silence or more mundane explanations, but for many, it was evidence that the Russians had stumbled upon something they were now forced to conceal. The mystery of Lake Vostok deepens when you consider its most inexplicable feature: it is the epicenter of one of the planet's most significant and disruptive magnetic anomalies. A massive, localized magnetic field, hundreds of miles across, emanates from this exact region. This great magnetic anomaly is so powerful that it creates a tangible dead zone for instruments. Compasses spin uselessly, and aircraft flying over the area report significant interference with their navigational and electronic systems. The official geological explanation suggests this may be a region where the Earth's crust is unusually thin, allowing the planet's magnetic field to bulge outwards. However, to those investigating Antarctica's hidden truths, this explanation is insufficient. They see the anomaly not as a natural geological quirk, but as the unmistakable energy signature of something artificial and immensely powerful. It's the kind of magnetic field one would expect from a massive, shielded underground facility, or the power source for an entire city hidden beneath the ice. Could this be the energy field protecting the inner Earth city Byrd described? Is it the cloaking mechanism for an extraterrestrial base, deliberately scrambling our instruments to prevent discovery? Or is it, as some have theorized, the lingering energy of a Nazi wonder weapon, like the fabled Bell, still active deep below? Lake Vostok and its magnetic anomaly represent the convergence of science and conspiracy. It is a known, measurable phenomenon that defies easy explanation, located at the heart of a hidden world, forever inviting the question: what is really generating that power beneath the ice? The mystery of Antarctica is not confined to the 20th century or the speculative future. Its roots may stretch back into the mists of ancient history, preserved not in secret diaries, but on weathered parchment. The most famous and perplexing of these artifacts is the Piri Reis map, compiled in 1513 by an admiral of the Ottoman Navy. On its own, it is a remarkable piece of cartography, but one section has fueled intense debate and speculation for decades. It appears to show, with astonishing accuracy, the coastline of the continent of Antarctica. But there is a crucial and impossible detail: it depicts this landmass without its miles-thick ice sheet. The map charts the rivers, mountain ranges, and coastal outline of a continent that has been buried under ice for millions of years. This presents a paradox that conventional history cannot easily resolve. The official discovery of Antarctica wasn't until 1820, and the true shape of the subglacial landmass was only confirmed with the advent of modern seismic echo sounding technology in the mid-20th century. How, then, could a 16th-century admiral, who himself stated that he compiled his work from far more ancient source maps, possess this knowledge? How could ancient or medieval seafarers have possibly charted terrain hidden beneath an impenetrable wall of ice? This impossibility forces us to consider extraordinary explanations, suggesting a profound gap in our understanding of the past. One compelling theory is that the maps are a legacy of a lost, highly advanced ancient civilization. This idea taps into the enduring legends of Atlantis, Lemuria, or other prehistoric cultures that are said to have achieved a remarkable level of technological and maritime prowess before being wiped out by a global cataclysm. According to this theory, these civilizations flourished during a warmer period in Earth's distant past when Antarctica was temperate and habitable. They would have possessed the sophisticated navigational and cartographical skills necessary to accurately map the entire globe, including the then verdant southern continent. The Piri-Reis map, therefore, is not an original work, but one of the last surviving copies of this ancient knowledge, passed down through generations of library archives, a ghost of a forgotten world. This lost civilization, some argue, didn't vanish entirely but retreated into the Earth's interior as the Ice Age began, becoming the very subterranean society that Byrd would later encounter. A second, even more dramatic theory posits that the knowledge came not from our own past, but from above. This is the ancient astronaut theory, which suggests that humanity did not achieve these feats alone. In this view, extraterrestrial, sky visitors, came to Earth thousands of years ago, interacting with early human civilizations. With their advanced aerial vessels, they could effortlessly survey the planet from orbit, seeing the true geological forms of the continents, unobstructed by ice or water. They then shared this advanced knowledge with humanity, bestowing upon them maps of the world that were far beyond their own ability to create. The Piri-Reis map, along with other similar cartographic anomalies like the Orontius-Phineus map, are seen as evidence of this celestial gift. These ancient maps serve as a powerful link, connecting the modern conspiracy of Antarctica to a secret history of the entire planet. They suggest that someone, whether an advanced human society or an alien intelligence, knew the truth of Antarctica long before us. This knowledge aligns perfectly with the other pieces of the puzzle. If a lost civilization mapped the continent, are they not the most likely candidates to have established a refuge there? And if aliens provided the maps, is it not logical to assume that the continent they charted so perfectly remains a place of interest for them, perhaps even the site of their primary base on Earth? The maps are a silent testament, written in ink and parchment, that the official history of human discovery is incomplete, and that the greatest secrets of our world may be tied to the frozen continent at the bottom of the globe. Narrator, in the 21st century, the search for Antarctica's secrets has moved from the decks of icebreakers and the pages of classified documents to the screens of our computers. With the advent of satellite mapping services like Google Earth, humanity was given an unprecedented, godlike view of our own planet. For the first time, any curious individual could become an armchair explorer, zooming in on the most remote and forbidden corners of the globe. And almost immediately, thousands of these digital explorers began noticing something strange about the continent. At the bottom of the world, they started finding areas in Antarctica that were inexplicably censored, intentionally. Obscured from public view. Across the vast, white expanse, users continue to report and document zones that are blurred into a featureless smudge, crudely patched over with low-resolution imagery, or in some cases, completely blacked out. These aren't small glitches, they are massive swathes of land, sometimes hundreds of square miles, that are being deliberately hidden. The question is, why? Alongside this overt censorship, a gallery of inexplicable anomalies has been compiled by online sleuths. They point to images of strange, perfect geometric shapes on the ice that defy natural formation, from perfectly straight lines miles long to massive, disc-shaped objects that appear to be partially emerging from the snow. Perhaps the most famous of these discoveries are the so-called Antarctic pyramids. Satellite images have revealed several mountain peaks that bear an uncanny resemblance to the man-made pyramids of Egypt, featuring four sharp, symmetrical sides. Geologists are quick to explain these as natural geological formations known as nunataks, the peaks of mountains exposed from the ice, which can be eroded by wind and ice into pyramidal shapes. Yet, for many, the precision of these formations is too perfect to be a coincidence, suggesting they are the weathered ruins of an ancient civilization, just as the ancient maps implied. The official explanation for the blurred zones and censored patches is usually mundane. Tech companies and mapping agencies cite technical issues. These are simply data glitches, stitching errors created when combining thousands of satellite photos taken at different times, resolutions, and angles. They are artifacts of the complex process of creating a seamless global map. But this explanation begins to wear thin under scrutiny. If these are mere glitches, why do they persist for years even after being publicly identified? And why do they seem to be concentrated in areas of particular interest, such as the region of New Swabia claimed by the Nazis, or near the location of the Great Magnetic Anomaly at Lake Vostok? To believers in the Antarctic conspiracy, the answer is clear. This is not glitchy data, it is intentional obfuscation. It is the modern face of a cover-up that has been active for over 70 years. In an age where information is power, the act of digitally scrubbing a location from the map is the equivalent of stamping a document, top secret, or silencing a witness. Each blurred patch could be hiding the entrance to a subterranean world. Each blacked-out square could be concealing a military installation engaged in activities forbidden by the Antarctic Treaty. Each pixelated anomaly could be a non-human structure or a parked extraterrestrial craft. The digital censorship on Google Earth is seen as active, ongoing proof that there is something on the ice that world governments and the powers behind them do not want us to see, continuing the legacy of secrecy that began with Admiral Byrd's silenced warnings. We have journeyed from the decks of a massive naval armada to the alleged depths of a subterranean world. We've examined ancient maps that defy history, Nazi obsessions with the occult, and modern digital censorship that hides the truth in plain sight. Every theory, every piece of evidence, every anomaly points back to the same, unsettling epicenter, the frozen, silent continent of Antarctica. At the heart of it all lies the profound and terrifying warning allegedly given to Admiral Byrd by the Master, a message of disappointment in humanity's love for war and a caution against our own self-destruction. This warning forces us to look at the mystery not just as a collection of conspiracies, but as a question about our place in the universe. Are we being watched? The persistent UFO sightings and the advanced technology described by witnesses suggest a silent, observing presence. Is this presence a guide, a benevolent intelligence attempting to steer us away from annihilation? Or is it a warden, a force that has quarantined the continent to protect something powerful from us, or perhaps, to protect us from a truth we are not yet mature enough to handle? Antarctica is a time capsule, preserving ancient air, extinct life, and the history of our planet within its icy layers. But who sealed this capsule, and why? Was it sealed by the slow, indifferent march of geological time, or was it sealed by design, a deliberate act to lock away a secret until humanity was finally ready for it? From the rushed retreat of Operation 𝐼𝐸𝐽𝐵 to the rumored Nazi bases in New Swabia, from the impossible coastlines of the Pyre Reef map to the blurred-out zones on Google Earth, from the great magnetic anomaly at Lake Vostok to the pyramids of ice, it all points to one conclusion. The ice does not just hold secrets, the ice is the secret. It is a veil, a barrier hiding a truth that could redefine our history, our technology, and our understanding of reality itself. Whether it's a hidden civilization, an alien outpost, or a gateway to another realm, the answer awaits beneath the crushing pressure and the bitter cold. From Operation 𝐼𝐸𝐽𝐵 to hidden pyramids, the ice holds secrets older than history itself. Perhaps one day we'll be ready to learn the truth. Brain, what do you believe is buried under Antarctica? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell for more uncharted mysteries.